Who would have thought, gentlemen, we'd be starting the show with Dinamo Zagreb against Spurs, but that's exactly where we will start, as Dinamo Zagreb going through 3-2 on aggregate to knock Jose Mourinho's side out. Don, halfway through this match, you text me going, no way they lose this, in reference to Spurs.
You absolute fibber. I didn't see them losing it, but my word, what a horrendous performance that was. I mean, it was ridiculous. It was so bad. The players didn't even look interested. Jose, after the game, he was flabbergasted. I think he's looking at this squad and thinking, this is not a team full of men. This is a team I can't manage, because every now and again, this team and some of these individuals go missing.
How this happen, Stevie?
I would have to say it comes down. A lot of it comes down to character, to be honest with you. You know, I've been in a situation away from home against a supposed inferior side. They get a goal, there's a huge crowd, gets behind them, and you get kind of swallowed up in the atmosphere. That, to me, is a legitimate excuse. But they don't have that excuse. They want a soul at the game. This was basically man against man. Whoever's got the better character, whoever's got the strength of character to kick on, is going to win this game. And a Premier League side couldn't face a team that, quite frankly, shocked us all by winning this game.
Was it just complacency? Is it that simple? Shaka obviously winning the first leg 2-0. Just think you rock up, you're going to get the job done. But then when Orsic scored, they really looked like there was only going to be one team who advance.
I thought the first half, it was quite clearly two teams who were just determined not to concede the first goal. And that's what you saw for 45 minutes. Spurs had 60-something% possession and couldn't create any meaningful opportunities. And then in the second half, Dinamo Zagreb they made the transition better. They decided to play on the front foot. They went looking for goals. They had to. And in the end, when Spurs needed to kind of play on the front foot, there's not a lot that they could do. And despite the changes, Jose Mourinho bringing on Harry Kane and Ndombele, it was just a team that seemed more comfortable defending than they did attacking, despite all the attacking players they had in their lineup.
Maybe we're underselling this slightly, Robert, but this is a huge deal, isn't it?
It's a massive deal, because it's not the first time Spurs have played in this sort of manner this season. There's been 4 or 5 occasions where they've lacked energy, they've lacked the right attitude, they've started games slowly and then not been able to get back into it. And you have to criticise the players, but you also have to criticise the manager. It didn't look as though they were prepared to battle today. They didn't look as though they were sent out on the pitch ready to fight for the place in the next round and take the game to the opposition. And that again comes down to the manager as well as the players.
Mourinho, though, after the game, Stevie said he warned the players. He warned them about complacency going into this second leg. Yep. And is it just a case that they didn't listen, or he didn't set them up properly?
I would suggest that there's too many of them are too comfortable and just think that when they step on the field, it's going to happen. I mean, you look at the side that he put out here. The majority, in fact, 99% of that side played in a Champions League final 2 years ago. And now they're reduced to getting knocked out of the Europa League by a minnow. So I think the time has come for big changes as far as the playing personnel are concerned. And it has to be quickly. Otherwise, Jose's in trouble, because he's supposed to be this great man manager that we've been talking about for a decade. Well, clearly he can't get this team going. And so you either have to ship them out, because if you don't and you can't motivate them, then the only thing that will happen is you'll be out.
Is he a dead man walking, Don?
I think it seems like it, Dan. He got asked a great question on BT Sports afterwards, and he got asked the question, do you get the feeling, do you and your players, do you think you're going to change course in terms of you're going to have to get rid of some of your players, or is he going to get the sack, Jose? And he waffled a little bit. He didn't really want to throw his team under the bus, which I get live on TV. But I think would have been better off served if Jose just had to turn around and said it bluntly. This team I can't manage, in terms of not him getting sacked, but the individuals he can't manage, because they haven't got the backbone, they haven't got the character. You know, when you go away from home, you've got to show character, you've got to show blood, sweat and tears that you're willing to die for that Tottenham shirt and go through in Europe. And Zagreb were all of that. tenfold. They were brilliant. You've seen the scenes after the game. They left everything on the pitch. And Jose must be looking, at that dressing room. He must be looking at individuals. And brilliant when you stick them all down on paper. You put the squad down on paper and you think, any manager in the world would want to manage this squad. I'm not so sure when you dig a little bit deeper how motivated some of these players are.
But isn't that Mourinho's job to motivate him, though, Don? Isn't it his responsibility as one of the best paid coaches in the world to get the best out of his side?
No, I totally agree. But Dele Alli's not the same player anymore. Harry Kane's staying away from tackles. He's protecting himself to try and stay fit for the Euros. Gareth Bale is just a conundrum why that hasn't worked. And he looks as though he's short on confidence, which I've no idea why. A multiple Champions League winner, he should be rocking up at Tottenham thinking, I am the man. I'm the, not in an arrogant way, but he shouldn't be lacking any confidence. He shouldn't need players and a manager to put an arm around him. And then that just spreads through the team and through the squad. So as much as it is Jose's fault, and he'll be massively under pressure tonight, I sent out a tweet tonight on social media just highlighting the Inter Milan side that won the Champions League, and I looked at every single one of them. That's the kind of personnel Jose wants to manage, not some of these Tottenham players that just turn up when they want.
Dan, when you've got not just a player that's comfortable, but you've probably got 4 or 5 that are comfortable. That's awful. I don't care how good a coach you are. Well, the only way you make them uncomfortable is when you chuck them out, you get rid of them.
Exactly.
But is he able to get rid of people that he needs to? Whether it's because of the contracts, the money they're on, whatever it is. But I can assure you, there's nothing worse than a comfortable footballer. Because what a comfortable footballer does is he turns it on whenever he fancies it.
So we're saying no matter who the coach is, no one could have motivated Spurs to get past Dinamo Zagreb tonight.
I am saying that regardless of how good a coach is, if you've got a bunch of comfortable players, then all the best. It's not straightforward.
Go on.
Dan, you said he's been a great man manager. We've been talking about him for a decade. He hasn't been a great man manager for quite some while. He was a great man manager when he was at Porto. He was a great man manager when he first came to Chelsea. He was a great man manager at Inter Milan. He fell out with a lot of people at Real Madrid. He fell out with people the second time at Chelsea. He's fallen out with people at Manchester United and didn't always motivate. I'm not talking about in terms of just saying, you've got to go out and play your best. He actually demotivated them by always criticising him. And now I think he's struggling at Spurs with several players. Dele Alli being one of those players. And there's several other players that are probably disenchanted with the way they've been managed. And that's down to him.
You wanted an Inter Milan squad, Don. He knew the team. He knew the type of players he was taking over. He knew he didn't have a blank check. We know what Daniel Levy is like. He knew the situation he was walking into.
Well, not necessarily, because you walk into a club and you walk into a squad where you see the names on paper and you know the players inside out because he's an intelligent manager, Jose Mourinho. But once you get on the training ground and you work with these players and you see them, not putting a shift in and very inconsistent and are a little bit immature at times, and you've got to put an arm around them. That's not Jose's way. Jose's ways normally is, you do this for me, we win Champions League finals, we win league titles. If you don't, off you go.
But it used to be that way, Don, didn't it? As Robert rightly said, it hasn't been that way for a while with Mourinho.
No, but you can't. But this is the dilemma he's in. He just can't waft into Spurs. I think he should, by the way. But I'm not sure how good it'll be in the short term. If he wafts into Spurs and he looks at half a dozen of those players and he goes, you're not for me. You're not going to take me where I want to be. He'll have to probably sell 4 or 5 of them. It takes him straight back to square one. So it's a really...
Why did Pochettino get the best? Pochettino got the best out of some of those players for 3 or 4 years. At the last 6 months, he didn't get the best out of them. But Pochettino got the best out of a lot of those players.
Go on, Shaq.
He didn't win anything. He got to a Champions League final, but he didn't win anything.
No.
But he's doing better than Jose Mourinho.
But that's the thing. Hold on here, Don. Jose Mourinho comes into Spurs and takes over a team that got to a Champions League final that, with some consistency under Pochettino, finished in the top 4. Yes, all of a sudden they had that half a season where things fell off the rails. But Jose Mourinho was brought in to take a team that consistently finished in the top 4, that got to a Champions League final and deliver silverware, because apparently that's what Jose Mourinho always does, deliver silverware. Now we're talking about a team that's sitting mid-table. Yes, they have a game in hand on those in the top 4. Yes, they have a final to play against Manchester City, maybe that changes the conversation. But as of right now, you have a team who, despite the promise of Jose Mourinho, their football is awful. They just got knocked out by Zagreb, and here we are trying to find an excuse for Jose Mourinho.
We're not trying to find an excuse, Shaka. I just never thought it was the right fit from day one.
But he did have them top of the table,
well,
Don.
I'm there with you.
Come on, Dan.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I think there's been 9 teams that have been top of the table in the Premier League this season.
So
at one stage, Don, you had them 50-50 to win the title.
Because it's where they were at the time. It's where they were. They were winning games 1-0. They weren't a great watch, but I sort of got the plan. I got the plan what he was trying to do.
I'll tell you what, the luckiest thing for Mourinho at the moment...
Go on.
The luckiest thing for Mourinho at the moment, there isn't a crowd at White Hart Lane because the crowd wouldn't put up with the sort of football they're playing. I know a lot of Spurs supporters, and they're so unhappy with the way their team are playing, even when they win games. They're almost rubbish in the team. They hate the way they're playing, they hate the style of football, and they don't really like the manager at the moment, so there's only going to be one end to it.
I agree. I'm not sitting here saying it's not Jose's fault. I'm just saying, all I'm trying to say to you guys is, which you know anyway, is when you watch Jose Mourinho's teams, you watch them battle and you watch them, blood, sweat and tears for a victory and get to where they want to be. I think when you ask Jose, he'd probably never tell us, but maybe in the future, he'll look at this Tottenham squad and think, these aren't for me.
Robbo, I'm intrigued by this soft players, comfortable players. How do you get over this? How do you restore kind of parity with them?
Well, I think, first of all, you have to inspire them in some way, whether you're inspiring them on the training ground, whether you're inspiring them with what you're talking to them about, whether you're talking to them as individuals. You can't actually motivate players in terms of just talking to them. It has to come on the training field. You have to inspire them in terms of what you're doing and sort of the way you're playing football and getting the best out of them. That's the way you inspire players. I know lots of managers that I played under that you just thought, I can't be bothered listening to you, I'm just going to do my own thing. But there was other managers that didn't actually speak that much to you, but on the training field, the training was brilliant, you knew what they were trying to get, and you wanted to play for that manager. At the moment, I don't think the Spurs players look at what they're doing on the training field and what the game plan and say, this is for me. It's a poor style of football at the moment.
So what we say now, are we saying this result is on Jose? I think it's on the players.
You're talking about how do you inspire them, right? I'll tell you, there's one way you can inspire them. You can sign a player or a couple of players that come in and get on everybody. Now, they don't have to be the best players in the world, but they've got a bit of strength, they've got a bit of character, they'll lead them regardless of what's put in front of them. That's another way that players can be inspired that are comfortable. So what does Jose do? He goes and signs a guy who's been on the golf course for 18 months and who's taken 6 months to get fit. That's hardly going to inspire anybody, is it?
I'm not sure that was his signing, Stevie. I'm not sure that was Jose's signing. I think that was the case of Daniel Levy.
He's Jose Mourinho.
Here you go. And Jose's gone, no thanks.
Jose Mourinho is not some kid who's wet behind the ears, who's been given a job because he's got a name or whatever. He's been given a job because he's a character. He's proven that he can handle players and he can turn teams around and he can win trophies. And if Jose Mourinho doesn't want Gareth Bale, I think Jose Mourinho is experienced enough and tough enough to go up the stairs and say, look, I don't want this big-time Charlie come to my team.
Right.
And the dressing room might not be great, but this guy could make it even worse.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN Plus.